This is the Fifth Estate winning headlines, coming to you from the Fort Hall School of Government in Nairobi, Kenya. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you may have missed this morning, but we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 11th of January 2022, and I am 2J.
I am JM.
And I am Miss K. Again, in case you missed today's headlines, here they are. Daily Nation, more Kenyans sink into poverty. Report. The Standard, RUTO feels heat over Linturi, whips allies. The Star, why court battle could force DP RUTO to resign. And finally, People Daily, leaders scold RUTO for late hate apology. Now,
I think all of the headlines are in line with what happened on Saturday.
that's definitely
All
true.
except the Daily Nation, more
Exactly.
Kenyans sink into poverty report.
Yes.
And I think I just want to address this very quickly because it ties into what we always say about the media. They're either lazy or evil or both. And today I want to accuse them of being both. So the report that the Daily Nation references is a KNBS report about poverty levels in Kenya.
Yes.
And one thing that they talk about is how poverty in Kenya has risen from around 36% to I think 58%. So quite a stark rise. But what they failed to take into consideration, and which was actually highlighted by a journalist who I do not like that much, but today I will give some airtime to, a man by the name of Adrian Blomfield. He highlights that the reason for this big jump in poverty is because in 2014, Kenya shifted from a low-income country to a middle-income country.
That's right.
And because of that, you know, it shifts the way in which the threshold in which we look at how poverty is.
Yeah.
And so the Daily Nation did mention this, but at the very end of the article,
Footnotes.
Exactly, the footnotes, when they knew that people would have already checked out.
Yeah.
So today, not only do we toss the Daily Nation, but we accuse them of being both lazy and evil.
They
That's
did not
right.
verify the gossip, or when they did, they put it at the very end.
Exactly.
So I'll test all the headlines,
Yeah.
and I'll just do that a little later. Before we do that, can we have a comment from JM?
Yes. So today I want to give you the story of Baba the Fifth. And because he invented football, I will tell you the story of the power of one goal. Once upon a time, Rafa Benitez, the current manager of Everton, who was formerly at Liverpool, pulled off a masterstroke during the 2005 UEFA Champions League final. In that match, Liverpool were up against AC Milan, the defenders of the Champions League title. Milan, who had the most valuable player in the world at the time, Andriy Shevchenko, knew they were the stronger team. Sure enough, by halftime, the score was 3-0 to Milan. Devastating. In the changing rooms, Liverpool were massively depressed. They could hear the AC Milan team already celebrating bigly. But Liverpool's coach, Rafa Benitez, remained hopeful. He said to his team, "Don't think about the final result. Just score one goal and see how the game will change. Just score one goal. That's all." And so, as Liverpool got back on the pitch, they thought to themselves, you know what, maybe we can't beat AC Milan, but surely we can score at least one goal. AC Milan, on the other hand, the best team in Europe, they relaxed. They knew they had this in the bag. In no time, however, the tables turned. Liverpool scored one goal, and then AC Milan began to wobble. As they wobbled, Liverpool's confidence grew. Milan now panicked and made mistakes. Then Liverpool scored another goal. At this point, Liverpool smelt weakness and they went full throttle on Milan. They scored again. At full time, the score was even, 3-3. It had to be decided on penalties. And by now, AC Milan were completely demoralized. They couldn't believe they'd thrown away the cup. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how Liverpool ended up winning the 2005 UEFA Champions League. Now, when Baba V announced his presidential bid on the 9th of December, RUTO had already scored 3 and Raila had scored 0. But Raila's coach told him, all you need is one goal. Only one goal. And so Baba V worked very hard to score only one goal. And once he had scored one goal, the gods, like in the case of Liverpool, aided him. RUTO has begun to wobble like AC Milan. First, the MADOADOA fiasco. Then there was the Bomet shambles of yesterday, where every speaker was booed except him. And now we are waiting for the next wobbly move. And all of this because of the power of one goal from Baba the Fifth.
And the power of one goal is also about igniting momentum. So Ruto was the only candidate before December 9th, 2021, when Raila announced his own presidential bid. Now at this point, Ruto had scored 3 goals and Raila was at 0. But in fact, Ruto was playing alone on the pitch without a goalkeeper on Raila's side. Is it any wonder that he managed to score those 3 goals? But come December 9th, Raila Odinga announced his bid and he entered the football pitch. And this was important for 2 reasons. 1, Baba identified a crescendo moment in the country and he capitalized on it. Following the State of the Nation address, Baba made his grand announcement on the eve of Jamhuri Day. And then he left us on a high into Christmas and the New Year. And this was political genius that left us with a really good taste in our mouths. But 2, the Baba declaration was leading William Ruto into a trap. You see, the one who announces first has the benefit of a first mover advantage. Baba forced Mr. Ruto into a rushed presidential announcement that ended with Linturi vomiting all over Ruto's shoes. So just like AC Milan, Ruto's confidence is beginning to wobble. His political momentum has begun to plunge because Ruto's problem is a problem of timing. Like AC Milan that had the best player in the world, Ruto also had the best player in Kenyan politics, also known as the Gema Nation. But having the best player without sustained momentum is nothing. Take note, momentum is all about timing. And political momentum is all about gaining speed in the right direction. And when one has achieved speed, it develops quickly and it grows quickly. Raila saw the opportunity of December 2021 and he took it. His timing was impeccable. All he needed was the power of one goal. But on his part, William Ruto misunderstood the art of timing. He believed that scoring 3-0 when he was the only player on the field was an achievement. Now he's wobbling like a nonsense. So today is the MADOADOA fiasco. What we don't know is what other fiascos await him. Because Ruto may whip Tanga Tanga into line and tell them to stop using MADOADOA language. But what we know is this: what doesn't happen in the light will still take place in the dark.
That's right.
Because that is his nature.
Wow. And I'd like to add to that, the power of one goal is not possible without a good referee. In fact, the momentum of the game is for the most part determined by a referee. The referee can disrupt the entire flow of the match. And because I do not understand football and how thousands gather to watch 22 grown men chasing a skin full of air, I'll speak about the law. But if I understand anything about football, then I understand that the judiciary is the referee in political contests. In this new year, the president asked us to reflect on the irreducible minimums required for the survival of our nation state. The second irreducible minimum required for our survival is the choice of justice over the law. Justice is about restoration, while the law is about punishment. Justice is about a reasonable outcome, while the law is about appropriate process. This is why the president asked us to uphold a system that seeks to improve the law, not one enslaved by law. So our judiciary has become a house that is bound to the rule by law at the expense of the rule of law. It has allowed the letter of the law to undermine the spirit of the law. So under the rule by law, the courts make decisions in strict obedience to the written laws. by the rule of law, but the rule of law is greater than all our written laws and our unwritten laws. It is what is called a meta law. This means it's a law about law. It guides the context in which we create, enforce, or repeal our laws. Put differently, the rule by law is about what the law is. The rule of law is what the law ought to be. So seen this way, justice is an end state, and the law is only a tool to achieving justice. So let me break this down for you football people. The rule by law is following the rules created in 1863 when football was invented. But the rule of law is about changing the rules as the game develops. So if football can be compared to politics, the judiciary is the referee. To guide the referee, we must constantly revise the rules that mediate the game to be in keeping with the times. Besides, as Franklin Roosevelt taught us, a constitution is a layman's document, not a lawyer's contract. It is a charter of general principles, completely different from the fine print lawyers put into leases and insurance policies. A constitution should be broad and general enough to adapt to changing times and circumstances. And that is why the president told us that PPI, it's not dead, it only sleepeth. It is a dream deferred.
Oh, indeed.
It is.
That's right.
We have a three-part criteria that we use to judge the headlines for you. We ask ourselves three questions. Was it topical or speculative, repetitive or groundbreaking, thoughtful or just plain lazy?
Toss them all.
Toss them all for being lazy. They did not verify the gossip and they were plain evil. On to the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country, and just like the headlines, we have a three-part criteria that we use to judge the cartoons for you. We ask ourselves three questions. Is it humorous or dry, satirical or pessimistic, effective or just plain lazy? In keeping with the football theme, let us begin with the Standard.
All right, in the Standard from Gado, here we have a caricature of Paul Biya, who is a Cameroonian president, in a wheelchair after having opened the AFCON 2022. And he's instructing a general and a faceless man. He says, "I'll be back in a month's time to officiate the closing ceremony. And by God, beep, you would better have lifted the cup by then." I think the context here is, I think Biya would like Cameroon to be the winners of AFCON this year. But from what I understand from my fellow football colleagues, it is unlikely, right? However, I think it's quite a boring cartoon and very specific.
Yeah, very specific.
I also know AFCON only started about 2 days ago, and there's no East African team as well that is playing.
Quite sad.
We toss that.
We toss that, and we look at Linturi Squared. Let's begin with the Star.
Yeah, so here in the Star we have a caricature of Linturi who's in the form of an ailing puppy, and he's sitting on the lap of a yellow tied gentleman who is apologizing for letting his sick puppy loose. Sorry he got loose. And this is over the MADOADOA remarks. Humorous one there.
Yeah, control your goons.
I also like that the puppy is a Dalmatian of sorts.
Yes,
Spotted.
yes.
Okay, that's a good one.
Doadoad itself.
It is. That's a good play, yeah?
It's a good play on words. I think we put that in the parking bay. And look at the Daily Nation, where we have a caricature of Deputy President William RUTO, and he's painting his room nice and yellow, UDA colors. And while the wet paint sign is still there, because UDA is still forming and norming, we have Senator Mithika Linturi standing in that painted room with his shoe in his mouth and a displeased RUTO looking at him. Foot in mouth, completely. Disease. Foot in mouth, disease.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay.
I will make an executive decision and toss the People Daily. It's just not worth it.
I completely agree. We won't
If
even
you
review
want to
that.
see it, go look for it yourself. But let us have a discussion between the Daily Nation and the Star. Which of the two do we think is worth it? Or should we toss
I
them?
hadn't noticed that in the Star, Linturi was a spotted dog. I think that was a very cheeky addition to the cartoon.
It was.
Yeah.
MADOADOA himself.
So
do we keep that?
I think we
agree.
keep the Star.
We
We
keep
keep
that
the
one.
Star.
We give the Star the winning cartoon. So don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are back. It is 2022. We are also on your TV screens. You can find us on Pang Free to Air, GoTV and Star Times. I'll leave you with this football quote from George Osborne. He says that in football, as in politics, resilience pays off. For Baba Man. Do have a great day.